Oh, yes, it is Anthony Rivera here with you, talking about all the news and happenings surrounding that team from Queens, the New York Mets, alongside my good friend, Matt Ibanez, host of Till Mets Do His Part, co-host of Till Mets Do His Part.
Careful.
Let me correct that. I don't want John coming after me, but this for me is episode, I think 152 or 153 of the Subway to Shea podcast. And for you, Ibby, since it's this collabo, I don't know what number you're at right now.
151.
151. So we're right there.
We're right there.
Each other. Perfect timing. But this is a collab between Subway to Shea and Till Mets Do His Part. I know when we were talking about doing this, I was like, oh, let me get you on the show after you're done. I know you got a crazy day. And we said, why don't we just collab and do it all at once? And it just makes so much sense. So hit your social. Oh, yeah, you hit your socials. I'll hit my socials. Take it away, my friend.
Oh, of course, thank you so much, and I'm very excited, obviously, to do this collab, but also excited because last time we did this, which is the start of the season, I know that you were a little bit busy that day. You were pulling like triple duty, and no pun there with Tone if he shows up triple duty there. But I know that I wasn't able to hear my favorite line from Ant, which is talking about that team from Queens. So I finally got the line there, so I'm very happy that I got that. And yeah, I'm pumped up, man. And obviously, shout out to everyone here. This is going to be on both channels. We're live right now. So if you're over on the Till Mets side, as always, thank you so much for being here. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. It goes a long way with helping us, grow as a show. We're about 21 subs away from 800. So please do so, and that'd be great. And I keep on talking about this giveaway that we're going to do, and I will do it. Believe me, I will. It's just been a little bit hectic on my end, but eventually I'm going to pump that out, and you guys are really going to enjoy it. But yeah, as always, follow me on Twitter right here. Follow John on Twitter when he decides to come back. Follow the show on Twitter. All the socials remain the same at Till Mets Do His Part. But yeah, let's. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to this team. There's a big second half in front of us, and I'm pumped up to talk about it with you, Ant. Let's do it.
Absolutely. And if you don't know my socials already, let me put them on the bottom for those who are watching. If you're listening, you can follow the Subway to Shea podcast on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Subway to Shea. You can follow me at Ant Rivera 86 and subscribe to the Subway to Shea podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. I think I'm at 445 or so subscribers. So I appreciate all of you guys. Make sure you like the video. You know what? Come into my video, like mine, then go into Ibby's video and like Ibby's. It helps us both out.
It does help us
subscribe to both. It helps everyone out. And I see we finally got Twitter on your end working. I saw when I started the video, there was some issue. I don't know what happened, but I need to have X Premium to be on the Twitter and have my Twitter access going on. And we lost Ibby there. He'll be back with us shortly. But right now, you can only find my stuff on the YouTube. At some point in time, I will get us back up and running on Twitter. Now, before we get Ibby back, just want to shout out 37 of you. Ibby's back. 37, Ibby. 37 people in the house right now. Shout outs to Duran Rivera, Douglas Barnes, Armand is in here. I think I see Patty in here. Patty in NYC. Hopefully I'll see you, Patty, at the Brave series next week. Rosie K in the house. And we got a lot to talk about. So let's get right into everything that's going on. Let's talk about the Mets. The second half coming up. They're 3 games over 500 at 49 and 46. They hold a wild card spot. I think they're a half game behind the Cardinals, if I'm for certain. And then they are 3.5 or 4 games behind the Braves and a half game up above the Arizona Diamondbacks, as that's when the last time I saw the standings on Sunday. A lot went on in the first half, which I did on Sunday, and I talked about, and I'm pretty sure you talked about last week. So we got to talk about this second half and what's going to happen with the New York Mets. All-Star week is over. Those hideous jerseys are gone, which now I think we're hearing that they might be thinking of going back. Rob Manfred getting a little sense to him, and maybe we'll see. Yeah, maybe we'll see every team wear their jersey, but I want to get your thoughts on what was said at the All-Star game with Pete Alonso and him talking about not wanting to leave here, wanting to stay with this team. You know, we saw him at the home run derby and all that stuff. We'll talk more about later about him staying or going as the show goes on. But I want to get your feel for Pete Alonso right now, because although the stats are kind of there, you know, he's got 18, 19 home runs. He's got 50 RBIs. The problem for me is I need LFGM Pete back.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing that. It seems to, and I talked about this with the guys at Mets Evening Brew, which is tomorrow. Yeah, we did last week, though. But we talked about how I don't want to say he feels corporate, but it kind of does. It feels like Scott Boras kind of got into his head a little bit, and he's too professional right now. Like everyone talks about in the media, and like if you listen to the radio stations, how goofy Pete is and how, you know, I love Goofy Pete. I want Goofy Pete back. Like I said, I want LFGM Pete back. Bring him back, Avy. How do we get him back, man?
I mean, everything that you just said is spot on, because it doesn't feel as weird as it sounds, because what he has I think he leads the team in home runs. He's got 18. The stats are fine. They're not the Pete stats that you would think in a walk year, but it's still enough for right now. But it still feels as though with all the good that's been going on with this team, it almost feels like he's not here, which is very weird to say, because look, Lindor's been on fire, Nimmo's been on fire, Vientos has stepped up big. We know what Francisco Alvarez, who is the heartbeat of this team, provides. Like, you would think with this team doing what it's doing that Pete would be a big part of that. But for me, and it seems like for you as well, it just feels like he's here, but he's not here. And look, what you said before about, you know, the loving of New York and things of that nature, we can talk about that more later. But, you know, when I heard that, I felt as though it harkens back to what I said at the start of the year, where I said that, you know, the Mets, from a name perspective, from a legacy perspective, needed Pete more than Pete needed the Mets. But as this season has gone on, and I've said this multiple times, as the season goes on and he's not providing the prototypical Pete season, well, he needs the Mets more than the Mets need him at this point, because his legacy is what he was banking on getting him that extra cash, that extra year, that extra 30 million, like whatever it may be, to get what he wants from a contract perspective. Because right now, that 150 he was offered, or whatever it was, was it 150, 175, whatever it was, like that money is, in my opinion, it's not there. It's not coming. And, you know, I just think that he's playing nice and saying how much he loves New York, because he knows that, you know, he needs New York to potentially get where he wants to get from a money perspective. But in general, the numbers are fine. I do wish, and I'm with you, like the LFGM, the goofball, the guy who's out there, you know, I know it bothered some people, but I didn't care that he was, you know, dropping the F-bomb, or he was, you know, humping the rails or whatever. Like, he is a goof. We know he's a goof. People say he's, you know, he's doofy or whatever. He's a big doof. It's like, I don't care. Like, you can be that when you're hitting bombs and being, you know, at the heart of this lineup. Like, that's all well and good. We want that. But yeah, it definitely feels a lot more buttoned up. And when you try to, you know, button up a guy, it looks very awkward, very weird, almost. And you know, I know we have some wrestling fans, and I know you appreciate wrestling too. And like, we got some fans in the chat right now. I know Armand's a big wrestling fan. Like, I think back to like when Austin walked out wearing a suit, and you're just like, this looks weird, man. And like, it doesn't look right. Like, this isn't Stone Cold. We want Stone Cold in the Daisy Dukes, you know, in the cutoff, stunning people. It's like that's kind of what I feel with Pete. Like, he's got the suit on right now. It's like, nah, man, you should be like in a cutoff, looking doofy as hell, and just you know, hitting home runs. His homers are sick. Like, that's Pete. That's what I want. And it feels like he's trying almost too hard right now to be that, instead of just like allowing it to happen.
Yeah, and I want to see if this works. This is the first time I'm share screening on here. I'm going to bring up Pete's stats right now.
Yeah,
because, you know, Pete, let's see if this works here. There we go. All right. Beautiful. So Pete is batting .240 right now. 19 homers, 51 RBIs, got 2 stolen bases. Good for him. And a 773 OPS. You know, a lot of people talk about the fact that he is not clutch, which This year, probably true. But in
Mhm.
years past, he has had some clutch moments. He has had
Agreed.
some big moments in his career. But you look this season, you look at this right now, the last 7 and 15 days, batting 220, batting 214. He's been struggling to
Yeah.
get some consistency. Even though he gets his sporadic homers and stuff like that, the consistency is, where the problems come for me. And you look at him with the bases loaded, batting 111, runners in scoring position, batting 222 this year. I'm trying to see what else that I like to use here. Late and close in games, 128.
Oof.
So, it really does lend to a lot of what the fans talk about, and well, some of the fans who are the doom and gloomers
Right.
want to hear, because they want to be right. And I admit it, they're right this year. He
Yeah.
hasn't been clutch. And it's not only him continuously swinging at those pitches low and away, those sliders that have killed him his whole career. Now there's pitches right down the plate where he's swinging and missing. And that's the concern to me when I look at Pete Alonso. And you even look at him at the home run derby. And I know people were making fun of him. He didn't get past the first round. I didn't really care. I'm not
It
into
didn't
All-Star
matter.
Week. Yeah, it doesn't
It
matter.
didn't
I'm not
matter.
into All-Star Week like
But
like a
before
lot
you
of
get
people
to your
are anymore.
point, like when you were watching him, like, and I saw his entire round, I sat there, I watched it. That was like one of the main things I watched. But to me, at least, I looked at a guy that was, and look, maybe he just couldn't get into a groove. It happens, whatever. But to me, for a guy who always talks about how much he wants to do it, he looked disinterested, and he looked uncomfortable. Like, it's like
Absolutely.
I couldn't wait for it to be over. Almost like that's the way it came across to me.
That's definitely the word I was thinking of, uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's not the Pete we're used to, right?
No,
I
it's
mean,
not.
he was so into it the first 2 years that he won.
Yeah.
And then
The
even the year that
dancing, the
he lost,
music.
when they tried doing the three in a row,
Yeah.
where he lost. You remember he was lifting weights in the
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
My favorite gif is the one with him with his eyes closed,
Yeah.
getting ready to go.
Yeah.
And then, just this year, it's not the same. And Mrs. Subway to Shea, who you know very well,
Mhm.
she said after last year, there was a point in time where you remember the Mets went on that run. I think Francisco Alvarez had big home run. Pete had a couple of big late inning
Yeah.
home runs to win a couple of games. And on TV, he didn't say LFGM, but he said the whole thing out, right?
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
went on TV. And I think he got
Yeah.
criticized for all that stuff
Yes.
and all that in the media. I don't know if Buck said something to him or the front office said something to him. Ever since then, he has just not been, he's been quiet. He's been reserved.
Mhm.
You just don't see him he's not humping the rails. Like,
Right.
I don't care. I don't care do what you got to do to get the best out of you. If you got to hump the rails or whatever, go ahead, man. Have fun.
Yeah. Do it.
Queens baseball is not baseball in the Bronx. It's
No,
not.
it's not.
It's not suits. It's not
No.
shaved faces. It's none of that stuff. It's the have fun,
Be you.
be goofy, be you,
Yeah.
do you. So I'm just concerned, not the fact about this whole contract situation, which I'm pretty sure is playing a big part in it.
Yeah.
I just want Pete to enjoy playing baseball, and it just doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing some great comments over here too. I'm just gonna rattle some off because I'm scrolling through. I love Armand here saying how he's comparing Pete to Rick Vaughn in Major League Two. I thought that was a good shout right there. That was a good one, Armand.
Yeah.
Douglas Barnes saying he misses skies out, thighs out, Pete. Like little things like that, and it's like. And obviously, Paul Rivera riding in on his horse over here, saying how Alonso knows he and his agent misread his value, definitely affecting him now. And of course, people saying how the contract in general could be weighing on him. And look, we've seen this before from Mets' perspective, at least when it came to Michael Conforto as well as others. But everyone always assumes that when you're in that contract year, everyone's like, this is where they're going to play big. Not everyone is Aaron Judge. Not everyone plays out at an incredible rate to get an extra 50, 60, $100 million thrown onto their contract because they went insane. Like sometimes it weighs on you too much, and you press a little bit, and it's clear that that's showing. And I think it was Good Fundies Brian over on X talking about comps when it came to Pete, and just saying how, when you look at his numbers, they're, the WAR and the overall numbers in general have been trending downward over the last 5 years. It started at a higher point and now it's getting lower and lower. How do you project that out? Look, I don't know how much the guy looks into this stuff, that being Pete, if he's just going out there and just trying to play the game. But I think you hit it. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that, ever since that LFGM, like that Lex fucking go moment, it's not the same guy. And I don't know if it's like, I don't want to comp it to like Jake, where it was like people always felt that Jake didn't want to be here. Maybe like Pete starting to show like, maybe I don't want to be here. Maybe I'll say the right things, but I really don't. Like, I don't want to equate it to that, because I do think Pete likes New York. I do. I
mean, he said so. He said so during his presser at the All-Star game. But like, then again, like, I have to now take that at face value, because Noah Syndergaard said the same thing. And everyone else who has signed, any of these homegrown guys that have signed somewhere else, have also said the same thing. So I am kind of, I guess, immune, or, I just don't feel anything for whether these players stay or go. Like, if they have to trade, I don't want Pete Alonso to go. I like Pete Alonso, and I want him to be here. Yeah. But if they do trade him, and that leads to them being a World Series champion at some point, then we look back and it's just, okay, they had to do what they had to do. Like, I can't hold on to these guys anymore, because like, it hurts.
Right?
Hurt.
It did. Him. It did, because you thought he was going to be here forever. And like, I'm the same way. Maybe it's, call it, just maturing more, or not wanting to continuously wait. I know I preach patience a lot, and patience over panic and things of that nature, and trusting the process and things like that. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I like these guys. I want them to be here. You grow an affinity for them when you watch them and you sit with them and you watch them all summer or whatever. They're always there with you. But yeah, I'm with you. It's like, look, if they get rid of him or he signs elsewhere, it's like, all right, on to the next. Like, I think as I've gotten older, at least I think you can attest to this as well. Like, you cheer more and more for the front of the jersey. Like, you always do, but it really becomes a lot more prominent and pronounced, I think, as you get older. Because I think, when you're a kid, you love players because you want to assimilate and be like players when you're playing the game and things like that. But I think now it's like, hey man, this is what I rep. Like, this is what I want. If they're here, great. If they're not, I'll root for the next guy that's in there, and hopefully that is the proper player to bring this team to the level that we wanted to get to.
Yeah, and that's why I've come accustomed to not buying player jerseys from the current crop. I save my jerseys for the 86 guys, Piazza, right? Those guys I will buy the jerseys for. And maybe once, if Alonso finishes his career as a Met, maybe that's the next one I get, or maybe it's a Lindor, or even Brandon Nimmo. Let's, we'll see what happens as we move forward. Shout out to Yuki Matsui in the chat. Yuki. Shout out to where is it? Papa Swing Things, and that's our guy Key from Shea and Sons podcast. Acknowledge.
One's up, baby. One's up.
One's up. Appreciate you, everyone in here. We got 54 in the house right now and growing.
Beautiful.
So let's keep this moving along here. I'm going to bring up the stats also for the entire season. Also, this is a good chance to look at the WAR for this team. And you look at where Pete Alonso is right now, and he is 12th, I think, in WAR at a 1.1. I mean, he's really low. Like, that's how you know Pete is not right. He should be definitely a top 5 player in that category. Agreed. But as you see, the top 2 guys at the lineup, Lindor, as well as Brandon Nimmo. And look who's number 3, everybody. Mark Vientos, baby. Unbelievable.
Hashtag Tone was right. Hashtag
Tone was right. Got to give Tone his flowers for that one.
Always.
Shaw Mania also up there, has had a good season. And you can't say enough about what Harrison Bader has done for this team and the bottom of the lineup. You look at this top 5 here. 2 of these guys are in the bottom of the lineup, which we have struggled to produce a decent bottom of the lineup for about, I want to say 3-4 years right now. And the fact that these 2 guys, you could throw Francisco Alvarez in there as well, because sometimes he gets, when they do the different lineups, he's at the bottom there. And, I'm surprised that Quintana's this high, but he maybe over the last couple of weeks because of what Francisco Alvarez has been doing with him, he's gotten hot. And my guy, Jose Budo. I mean, he's
also your guy, Jose Iglesias. Like
Jose Iglesias. These two guys right here, man. I have petitioned for them all.
Look, for anyone who doesn't know, like me and Ant, we throw messages at each other every day. We talk nonstop. And I said to him at one point, I was like, when he was pushing so hard for Jose Iglesias, I was like, and this was like when the Mets were bad. Like this was May baseball. It was bad. And I was like, it goes to show you where this team is when we are praying for a savior like Jose Iglesias. And then sure enough, OMG becomes our rally cry and essentially saves the season. So shout out to you, Ant, for wanting Jose Iglesias up and him providing everything that he's done to this point.
Absolutely.
What's he about? Like 380? Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I'll bring that down. Shout out to Stephanie in the chat. She loves the Jose's. How could you not?
Hey,
honestly, how could you not love the Jose's? Let's see. Here we go. This is the best. Boom, right there. So Jose Iglesias is batting. Yeah, you're right on it. 380 right now.
380. Yeah.
380, man. Unbelievable.
Guy just gets up there and has good at bats. Like he battles. I don't care. He smacks. I don't care. Opposite way. Doesn't matter if Carson's here. Doesn't matter. I don't care where he gets on base, drives guys in, does what he has to do in big spots. You love to see it. And another thing, if you could just scroll up real quick when it comes to those guys with WAR, like just seeing the list as it is, like people. Not me, not you, but a lot of people ragged on Stearns when it came to, bargain bin shopping or whatever and this and that. Or when he said, look, this is New York, yes, but you have to give guys time to, be able to grow because that's how you figure out what guys have if you give them time. Well, number 3 on this list was given time and he's showing out. Number 4 and 5 on this list were considered bargain bin buys and they're showing out big time. I always like on my end, like when I did my my thumbnail for this week, I always like, telling a story almost with the thumbnail. And the guys that I included on it this week was all the guys that I felt deserved to be there based off of what they did in the first half and how big they're going to be in the second half. And I had to put Harrison Bader on there because, like you said, solidifying the bottom half of the lineup, having great at-bats, and to my partner's credit, John Saponaro, when he said that he thought that Harrison had another level to his offense, guys hitting home runs, big spots, like he is doing a hell of a job and proving out to be more than just what everyone thought he was going to be, was just a fourth outfielder type, glove-only type. He's been fantastic in the field and even better in the box.
What I like here is you have you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of David Stearns signees on this list right now as tops in WAR. And that doesn't even take away from some of the other pieces that he has brought in that have been major key contributors to this team. That's been a big problem with, previous Mets, right? Previous Mets teams. They had a bad bottom of the lineup. They had a bad bench.
Yeah.
The what do you call? I don't want to say replacement players because that's not the right term, but not the core players, but the I don't even know what's the right term to use for this. For these like little pieces that had these little pieces to the puzzle that help finish it out. Maybe that's how I'll go with it because I can't think of a term right now. But they finally have, the proper pieces in place to add to go along with the Nimos and Lindors and Alonsos of the world. And, people will rag on why not give Mark Vientos a shot right out the bat of the season?
Right.
Well, when you have the opportunity to sign JD Martinez for the amount that you did, 1, you take that opportunity. And 2, it lit a fire under Mark Vientos because I'm pretty sure he thought he had the DH role in the bag in spring training, even with the poor play he did.
Yes.
That he thought he had in the bag. And the fact that in the last week they said, nope, we're going in and we're getting JD Martinez and we're sending you to AAA. And when you're ready, you'll come back up. Was hitting in AAA, brought him up, and now he's your starting third baseman. How crazy is that? Like, what work?
For me, and for me, and it just goes to show the character of JD Martinez. I'll never forget the picture that everyone was, retweeting
Yeah.
and putting out there the second it happened when he showed up to camp. And Vientos is there and he's standing next to Martinez, and everyone's like, oh, Martinez is probably joking with him, saying I took your job and blah blah blah. It's like, no, maybe it's a teaching moment and just getting a better understanding of saying, look, a lot of the stuff that you're going through right now, I went through the same thing when I was in Houston. Nobody thought much of me. I wasn't viewed as anything, and then eventually I busted my ass. I worked, and now I'm a respected hitter within this league, and I've been playing for 10 plus years, and I'm a champion. So it's like that's another huge thing about JD has been, and I waxed poetic about JD when I had Tone on the show a couple weeks ago. We both did, about what he brings to this team, even at an older age, and passing down knowledge to someone like Vientos, who again also viewed as someone that was more bat over glove. Maybe you're just going to be a DH. No, like, you preach work ethic to a guy like this. He's comfortable, and like I said, I think I might have said last week, he's doing everything, that being Vientos, that people wanted Brett Beatty to do, which is provide power, show confidence, and do things in the box that are game changing. And he's doing that in spades.
Let's also not forget, when we're talking about Vientos on defense, the fact that he went down in spring training and went with Francisco Lindor and worked out and trained and did his best that he can. So you can attest a lot to the leadership of Francisco Lindor, the professionalism and leadership of JD Martinez.
Man. Lindor stinks. No, he's not good. He stinks. He's no good. He's a nobody. Overpaid.
Douglas Barnes saying JD Martinez is that kind of leader. You're spot on. There was a comment here from Rosie K. I think that Vientos starting in the minors made him hungry.
Absolutely.
We agree with that. And Junior Swingman coming in the clutch like Harrison Bader. Complementary players. That's the word I couldn't think of, but thank you for that, Junior Swingman. I appreciate that. Yeah, looking now as you go down this lineup here, obviously we know Pete Alonso really needs this big second half. You got to look at a player as well, like Jeff McNeil, only batting .216. I mean, we have to. He's not going anywhere.
I know.
Unless they surprise us with some type of trade at the deadline. And
which I don't think they will.
I think it's going to be McNeil. It's going to be, Jose Iglesias splitting some time. And you know what? I don't mind it, honestly, because I don't want Jose Iglesias to be overexposed by playing so much.
Yeah,
I feel like that's something that could happen. And to throw Jeff McNeil in there at some point's fine. See if he can get going, because you still got years in the contract. And if you're going to trade him, it's going to be for peanuts, because he's not worth much right now.
It's not worth anything.
Yeah. Outside of being a utility guy, he's not going to get you much. Right now, this stats right here, 216, 591 OPS, 5 homers, 24 RBIs, that is backup utility stuff. That is what Zach Short was supposed to provide, or Joey Wendell. And that's what Jeff McNeil is providing right now.
OPS plus of 71. Look, I don't want to turn us into a McNeil rant or bashing him. There's plenty of other shows, Mets Weekly, that would be able to, destroy. I'll say that for Carson, to destroy Jeff McNeil. But yeah, I mean, you see what he is now, and this is why I don't know if it will happen. If we'll see Luis Angel Acuna at some point, just to see something different. Maybe better defense as opposed to McNeil's at second, and provide some speed to the bottom half of the lineup. I know that Acuna is just the last name for many. I'm not saying he's his brother, because he's not. He doesn't have the power, anything along it's nothing along those lines where I think that's why I want him to come up. I just want to see if the kid can provide something. That's all. And maybe I think he has the best shot out of anyone that's down there, not named Beatty, coming up again. But to come up and potentially show something from this the minor league perspective, from a hitting standpoint at least, I think he has a shot. I don't know if we'll call him up, but for me, I would like to see it, mainly because would he, and if he is something back down, but would he be any worse than what you're getting from an offensive perspective than Jeff McNeil? Like, I know he's not the greatest when it comes to an offensive profile, that being Acuna, but is it going to be that much worse than what Jeff McNeil's doing right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I
It's
mean,
a fair question, you know.
yeah, and that's I'm pretty sure that's also the reason why too that Brett Beatty is now starting to play second base. I mean, Jeff McNeil has to worry a little bit about this. You got Acuna getting ready to come up. You got Brett Beatty starting to play second base. So there's no wiggle room for him. Douglas Barnes says Iglesias is a career 280 hitter. Do we really have to worry about overexposing him? Maybe a small regression, but maybe that JDM effect has helped to take him to the next level.
I
I
mean,
say, why have
yeah.
280 when you can have 380 in the time that he
and
plays?
and to the point that Douglas is talking about with JD Martinez, you know, the change in his overall OPS down to AAA when it came to the weighted bat and the stuff that he was learning from Driveline and you know, the effect that it had on the hitters. Again, stuff like that matters. And you know, I agree that, you know, he's a 280 hitter, but you know, at the same time, he's a little bit longer in the tooth. You know, I'm still with you, Ant. When it's like I don't want to put him out there every day because, you know, then you could start showing your age a little bit. And I think, you know, the role he has right now, I think it works. I think it's fine. Is it frustrating for us, especially in our chat, when you know, he goes 3 for 5 with a home run, and then the next thing you know, he's benched the next day for McNeil? Yeah, it's a little frustrating, but at the same time, it's like, you know, you're playing the long game here, and I think protecting him, you know, does go a long way as well.
Jerome Rivera says it's funny that both Pete and the Squirrel had big years in 2019 and 2022, but have struggled since then. And those two guys are probably the two most important pieces that need to get themselves right as we head into this second half. You look at the rest of the lineup here. I'm not really too worried about Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo. I feel like they have found their rightful place at the top of the order. Just needed to
Yes,
be switched. That's all. You just
that's
needed
it.
to switch the two, and
Small
they
switch,
are good now. So hopefully that continues. Obviously, there'll be slumps here and there, but hopefully
of
that
course.
continues with those two guys. I'm not worried about JD Martinez.
No,
I want to see how uh, Mark Vientos, especially Francisco Lindor, not Lindor, Francisco Alvarez,
mhm.
translate to the second half, especially power wise. I feel like we really haven't seen Francisco Alvarez power wise. I know he's only you know, been here for a short time, still with the hand injury. Who knows if that's affecting him at all? But he is hitting for average, so
Yes,
I'll take that in a heartbeat. He's batting 296 right now. I'll take that 844 OPS. Who wouldn't take any of that right now?
and absolutely. And look, and the crazy thing is, we've been, you know, subscribing to the idea of Alvarez as a pure power hitter because that's what he was in the minors. And we were told how much of a butcher he was behind the plate, but he is making a huge difference for this team when it comes to being behind the plate and helping this staff, whether it's getting the most out of the bullpen, stealing strikes, stealing strikeouts, helping this staff in general, turning around Quintana, things of that nature. But yeah, I think the offense will come. And this is also part of the rigors of a long season, especially like you just said, coming off of an injury. It's going to get there, and he'll get hot, and he'll, you know, the power will start coming, and I think he's a guy that's going to be someone that hits home runs in bunches, where it's like he'll hit 4 or 5 home runs in a week or something like that. Small things like that, but you know, he is doing a fantastic job overall. But I'm with you. I do want to see some of those balls start flying over the fence. And I think they will.
Yeah. Harrison Bader, I'm not worried about him. He seems like he's just made for New York. He played well in the Yankees,
Mhm.
and now he's kind of taking it to another level here with the New York Mets, and I like that what I'm seeing for him.
He's got the beard now. It looks
He's
better.
got the beard. Sevy's got the beard. They're
Got the
loving the
beard.
beard. That's all we
You
need.
got. I can't grow a beard, but you got the beard. Like you guys are doing better because you got the beards. That's what it is.
You look at the bench.
Yeah,
Tyrone Taylor, even
it's
though he's
fine.
batting 228, he's played great defense. He's had some clutch hits himself. And the only guy that I'll get into the guy that I'm worried about, but Luis Torrens has been such a blessing. Like, we finally
Unbelievable
have
gem.
that backstop, not only that can hit, but plays amazing defense. How many guys he's thrown out in his short time here has just turned this team around. I hope it wears off on Francisco Alvarez, who still kind of struggles a little bit throwing runners out at first base. I mean, at second or trying to steal, whatever.
Yeah.
But Luis Torrens has been spot on. And it feels like we have some sort of a bench mob now here with Torrens, and you talk about Tyrone Taylor, and you got Jose Iglesias coming off the bench as well. The only guy that has not. And I'm shocked that he's still on this team, honestly. And that's DJ Stewart. I know that he had that 2 good week span, which he got into a contract. Good for him, but not good for the Mets because he's not really produced, man. It kind of, do I say kind of worse than Vogelback? Or is that like it's a different kind of bad, right?
It's a different type of bad because at least Stewart swings the bat. There's the huge difference there. But I'm with you, like, and we can talk more about like when it comes to potential trades and people that we might be eyeing when it comes to a potential replacement, whether it's in-house or out. But for me, if you want a lefty bat, I can't subscribe to the idea of DJ Stewart anymore. It's not there. And I've said that about players before on this team during this season, and they've gone off. And please, DJ, if you're hearing this, go off, man. I want you to do well. I want you to provide something. Like, we want you to, but if you're asking me right now, it's like, yeah, that's if you're talking from an offensive perspective, a weak link. I'm going to the bench and I'm picking him out and I'm saying we can do better here. We can do better. And then, of course, the conversation can be had whether that's in-house or out. But I think that they can find someone that can do a much, much better job, that can much better job than DJ Stewart, and really, solidify this team even more, because I think offense is still going to carry this team, because whatever they end up getting or not getting during the deadline, because pitching is going to be the topic for many teams, because a lot of teams are still bunched up and they're all going to be trying to get people. You still got to be able to score runs, and you're going to keep on cycling people in and out. So if you can give me another bat that can cycle in, that's better than putting DJ Stewart batting 5th on a given day, you got to do it.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that, we're top baseball experts, we're baseball fans.
We're baseball fans, yeah.
We're podcast boys, like some people like to think. But, you just look with your eye. You do the eye test, right?
Yeah,
we all knew Jose Butto had to be in this lineup, in this pitching staff. We all knew that Jose Iglesias needed to be up here. And I could tell you right now that I did not want to re-sign DJ Stewart once I saw him go back to the norm in September. I did not. And, he's here and good for him. I'm glad and I'm happy for him. And I'm going to root for him like you. I want him to succeed.
Do it, yeah.
But the fact that he has an option and we have not sent him down at all yet, that's, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we could have given, Andrew the Rhino his he wanted Luke Ritter up here. Why not give that guy a chance?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely people down there that it's like, why not give it a shot? And people can say, there's a reason why guys are AAA players and they thrive there, but when you call them up, they're not going to be anything close to that player because AAA is a joke. And I get that. But at the same time, it's like, when you're getting such minimal output from someone, it doesn't hurt. And I understand, like, you have an option. Maybe you don't want to burn that option on this, a given person that you might call up because you're thinking, it's probably not going to equate. I get that to an extent, but at the same time, it's like, when you're trying to win games, like, everything matters. And the fact that he does have an option, I would hope that it is utilized relatively soon if it continues where he's not giving anything, and then we can find out whether that piece that can help us is in-house or it's making a deal for someone.
Yeah. Shout out to Keith Dutter in the house here saying Terren's unbelievable arm and release speed. Douglas Barnes saying credit to Carlos Mendoza for getting Terren's here. I mean, he knew he was in the system, right? I mean, he knows what buttons to press, but a lot of people said, I don't want Carlos Mendoza. I don't want Luis Severino. I don't want Bader. They're all Yankees. Why would I want those guys?
Don't get me started.
I want Yankees. You know why I want Yankees? Because some of them are winners.
Yeah.
And they bring a winning atmosphere. Now they're not doing so good, but for the most part they are.
That when people were saying that, it was such a it was also a loser mentality. It's like, you're really showing how much of a loser you are because you don't want someone because they were I don't care. You want good ball players. That's what you want. And how about just the idea of you're bringing someone that was a bench coach for the Yankees, and people who have an idea of who he is as a coach, as a leader of men, as a what many called a a player's manager, why not have guys that have worked with him that can be an extension of him? So then that permeates even more throughout a clubhouse. Like, this isn't hard to understand. Like, this is all about communication and creating something. And I think, a lot of Mets fans, just want things to just happen like that and think it's just going to be all perfect. Like it's that simple. It's like, guys, for a majority of you haven't won in your lifetime. So it's like, allow things to play out, and we're seeing those fruits come to fruition.
Patty's saying New York is New York. It's always been trades between the Mets and Yankees. So yeah, look, this as we move on with this team and watch this lineup, I gotta say I'm very excited for them. I don't know if there needs to be a trade, and we'll probably get into trades later on in this episode. But you look at what is missing from this team right now. Starling Marte out, and we don't know when he's coming back. So
I'm not banking on it either.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
We might have to start looking into some options when it comes to that, that lineup. When it comes to getting an outfielder, I want to go to the pitching staff right now, and looking at what we have right now. Luis Severino off to a nice start for this season, 6-3. He's had some bumps in the road, but for the most part, he's been good. 3.78 ERA. Jose Quintana finally turning it around. Look how low he got his ERA. It was up for 6 for about, up until the beginning of June. And it took Francisco Alvarez to come up in here. And I'm not giving credit to Jeremy Hefner. Francisco Alvarez.
You know what?
Took care of that business.
Instead of Hefner, toss the credit to me, because when I put out the on our community post, when he was at the bottom of the barrel, I was saying, where do you guys want to send him? Do you want to send him to Mars? Do you want to send him to the sun? Do you want to send him somewhere else in space? And ever since I posted that, that's when he went on the absolute tear that he'd been on, minus obviously the rocky start where he got a little bit roughed up. But yeah, don't you want to give it Hefner? I'll take the credit. It's also mine.
You got Sean Manaea with a 3.46 ERA, 6-3. How about David Peterson? 4-0, 3.09 ERA. Way better than that guy Tyler McGill, who's 2-4, 5.08 ERA. Bum. Where's Carson? That bum. Christian Scott still looking for his first career win. Still hasn't been able to get it. We're still waiting for it. But I wanted to
be a glorious day.
Yeah, it definitely will. I wanted to get into with you about this 6-man rotation. That's the next thing, right? The 6-man rotation with the Mets that's about to happen once Kodai Senga comes up. How would you put this 6-man rotation together? Because we do have to remember, although Kodai Senga is coming back, they're going to handle him with kid gloves. And you also have to handle Christian Scott with kid gloves, considering what we've seen over the last couple of starts for him, whether they're taking him out early, whether they have to reduce his innings and his pitch count. I don't expect Christian Scott to be a part of this rotation by the time we get to September, if they have to have him on an innings limit or a pitch count.
I think, like, the way I look at, like, the most interesting thing about all this, like, everyone talks about the deadline when it comes to bullpen, and I wouldn't be shocked if another starter is potentially brought in, mainly because I don't trust Tyler McGill, and I think that they're also going to get to a point where they might keep Buto in the bullpen to almost act as a piggyback, whether it is to protect the innings of Scott or to protect Kodai Senga, how they're going to handle him in the beginning. So I think the idea of having guys like that, like Buto in the pen, are what's going to really help fortify this idea of a 6-man, and why I think I wouldn't be shocked if they brought in another arm so they can keep some of these guys, within the pen, as if they fail to bring in, other pen pieces. But for me, I think you're going to see it based on how it's listed right there. You remove McGill, you plug in Senga. Those are the 6 guys that they'll roll with. And I think you keep Buto in the pen for now. I think he's done well. And I think they're going to use him as a piggyback to protect, like I said, whether it's Scott or Senga, however they want to go about it. And I would not be shocked at all if they brought in somebody else and then, potentially bumped, whether they wanted to make Peterson in the pen or if they wanted Manaea, who's worked both as a swing, if they wanted to do that. Or let's not forget, like one of these guys could also be dealt when it comes to the deadline. That's potential as well. So there's a lot of possibilities here. But either way, for now, I will say like Severino, Quintana, Minaya, Peterson, Scott, plug in Senga, keep Buto in the pen as your piggyback, and then go from there. But I also think that the pen will be a priority, but I wouldn't be shocked if they brought in yet another starter, even though starters are considered a strength for this team because they have the depth. There's no such thing as too many starting pitchers. We know that all too well. Many teams know that all too well. So I wouldn't be shocked if they brought another arm.
G Money Stack says it right. Yeah, Christian Scott gives up way too many home runs. That's going to be a major issue. Hopefully he can figure that out. But
it was a big issue in the minors too.
Yeah, that has been the biggest problem for him. If he can get that under control, I think that you have something here. I wonder too, down the line, Kodai Senga starts feeling good. They start pulling back the reins on him. Mm-hmm. Does Christian Scott become another portion of that, Jose Buto, the Daniel Nunez multi-inning reliever where Tyler McGill should honestly be? Because, you look at the way baseball is changing now, right? Mm-hmm. Pitchers are not going unless you're an elite starting pitcher,
right?
You're not going 5, 6 innings, 7 innings. Could we see more of this trend of what the Mets are doing that has, if you get the right pieces, which, they got 2 of them already in there in Budo and Nunez, and they do have a third, but I don't know. Adrian Hauser has not been good this season. But could we see there be more of this type of, because they're also not going to add more people to the roster. Like they're not going to expand the roster during the season. I don't know if that's something that has to be in the CBA or whatever that has to do. But you look at, you have all these multi-inning relievers. Like baseball changes generationally, right? I mean, remember closers back before, we started watching, right? They were pitching 2, 3 innings, right? I mean, starting pitchers sometimes we're going 10 innings. So I wonder if this possibly is the trend, because you have Daniel Nunez, Budo, Hauser, Reed Garrett when he returns, pitches multiple innings. You could do it with Tyler McGill, Sean Reed Foley. He's another guy that could possibly pitch multiple innings. When you get to the lefties, that's where that doesn't really happen too much. Right. But I wonder if this could be a possible trend that the Mets start of having relievers pitching multiple innings like in the old days.
Yeah, and I think it's something like this is all about, managing the stress of your pitchers and trying to do anything and everything to keep guys as fresh as possible. Like they talk all the time about, making guys, whether it's from the offensive side, versatile, having versatility. And again, now maybe adding said versatility to the bullpen where it's like, well, we can have these guys that can go a couple of innings here and there. And then it allows us to, not have to depend so much on the ones that we know have that blow up potential. And I think we all know who we're talking about when I say blow up potential, especially this season. So seeing less of guys like that and allowing Buto to go 2, 3 innings here, Nunez 2 innings here, like whatever it may be. It's I don't want to say it's makeshift or like figuring things out. I guess it's kind of figuring things out on the fly based off of what you have. And I think Stearns does a great job when it comes to building pens. So whatever he wants to do from a building perspective, I think based off of his track record and what he's done to this point, at least he's trying his hardest to bring in fresh faces and find something that works to show that he's still trying to win. You got to trust David Stearns.
I'll also say Joey Lucchese's back in AAA. So if the Mets ever decide to utilize him at some point,
he wasn't going to give up that money. He wasn't going to give up the money. That's for sure.
So maybe we'll see him. I know there's been a lot of talk in the chat about, what the Mets could do during this second half and at the trade deadline. Armand saying, has Acuna played the outfield in the minors this season? If he has, maybe they can call him up and play him in right field and keep Taylor on the bench as a 4th outfielder and get rid of DJ Stewart. Rosie K asking, Mets should be in the market for a right fielder. And Duran Rivera saying, how about Jesse Winker to play right field instead of DJ? Now, that leads me to our next topic. The trade deadline, news, rumors, whatever is going on with this trade deadline. Not saying that there's anything active right now. We do know that the Mets made one move in bringing in Phil Maton to help out the bullpen. We'll see how much
there.
Yeah, we'll see how much he can add to this. And you know, we always have to link up when a lot of these big announcements, whether it's a coaching change or a bullpen piece, we always link up for that. That's the sign I know that we need to do another collab.
Yeah.
But we talk about the needs for the Mets coming into this trade deadline. Obviously, bullpen, right? Number one.
Yes, number one.
Possibly a starter is also on that list. And now you look at an outfielder. I would have said before Marte got injured, if Marte was healthy, I think the lineup is pretty much as good as is, especially knowing what we're getting from Mark Vientos and Bader and Alvarez. I would leave the lineup as is, even with Jeff McNeil there. But the fact that Marte is going to be out, we don't know how long he's going to be out for, may need to go in and get an outfielder. And I kind of agree with Duran Rivera with going after Jesse Winker, because not only can you get him, but you can pry away one of those good bullpen arms that the Nationals have and try to figure out a trade there. And I just want to get Jesse Winker on the Mets so we don't have to face him again.
I put some notes down since I knew we were going to be talking about, some potential targets. And I have been like, since he was in Cincinnati and then went to Seattle, didn't do so hot, then they got rid of him. They kind of fell off, but I'm a fan of Jesse Winker. And yeah, it sucked watching him always come here and just destroy us, that he continues to do it. And, obviously Mets fans always think, well, he stinks against everyone else. He's only good against the Mets. He'll come to the Mets and he'll stink. No, but for me, I think, and it could be, and I said this in our chat too, like he might be like the prototypical vibes guy and not like this. Like, I'm not saying he's going to come in here and be a star. I'm not going to say he's going to come in here and bat fourth. Like, that's not what I'm saying. Like, I think going after him, I think he is attainable too. And I know it's always difficult because a lot of times the Nats don't want to deal with us, and everyone thinks automatically because, they didn't want to give us Juan Soto. Like, that's a different story. But if you give up, a solid piece, you could get it, because look, they're cashing out on a 1-year deal, and Winker having a decent season. They're cashing in so they can get out from that, so they can get something in return, whether it's like a Mike Vassell type in a deal. So I'm all about the vibes that I think Winker would bring. I think Mets fans love him. I think he loves messing with Mets fans too. I think he fits, and it's a lefty bat. It's a lefty bat that I think can do a lot better than what you're getting from DJ Stewart. So yeah, I'm all about adding somebody like Winker at the deadline. And I do think, even though it is the Nats, it's definitely something that can be attainable if that's what Stearns chooses to do. You're on mute, Dan.
Of course I am. I'm trying.
It's always one time a show. It's always
one time a show. I'm always muting myself. And it sucks too, because even though I'm doing this share screen, I'm doing it from my little laptop. Like, I don't have the multiple screens where I'm trying to get everything. So this is the first time I'm doing this shared screen stuff. Yeah. Trying to have us, and we're small in one screen, and then I'm trying to go through the other screen, and it's hilarity on my end. I want to go to a tweet that Wardy put out, because he put top 5 targets. I don't know if you saw this today. I retweeted it on my page, but he put the top 5 targets that should land in Queens, and I thought this was a pretty solid list here. So I'm going to bring that up here.
Sure.
And he had, let's see, there we go. There that goes. Boom. Top 5 Mets targets, according to Wardy. Tanner Banks, left-handed pitcher. Obviously, we know the Mets need a left-handed pitcher because, as who put it up here? I think it was, who put it up here? Was it G Money Stacks? Not G Money Stacks. Oh, Rosie K. Jake Diekman cannot pitch for us any longer, and I'm in agreement with that. Got to figure out a way to get someone in here. So you look at
Jake Diekman on a rocket is now an evergreen tweet forever.
Yeah, you got to keep that one. Apply. maybe that gets a video at some point with some good voiceover. Hint.
I will
Tanner Banks, left-handed pitcher. Tanner Scott as well. The closer is he still the closer of the Marlins? I think he is. Yeah. So that's another option right there. You got Garrett Crochet, although I think he's on an innings limit. So that's something to be, maybe it works out for, that's a future move, like for
Crochet is also It's a very, very, very pricey type of move. I don't know if Stearns will go there, but it would cost a lot.
These two right here, obviously Jesse Winker, one, Eric Fetty. Let's talk about Eric.
Let's talk about Eric Fetty. Let's do it.
If any of you were watching, I think it was before the season? I think it was definitely before the season began, during the, I guess, free agency time.
It was like November.
It was a very special Subway to Shea and Sons podcast where I was with the guys from Shea and Sons. And there was the rumors, I think you broke it to us.
I did, yes.
Ibby, that there was a possibility of Eric Fetty joining the Mets. And we were like, what? Eric Fetty? Why Eric Fetty? And
right as you guys were ready to sign off, right? And then right as we were, 45 minutes.
That sparked another hour of podcasting just to talk about Eric Fetty. And it didn't work out. And obviously, because of all that, because of us ragging on Eric Fetty for an hour, of course he's having a great season, or a pretty good season down there or up there in Chicago. Man, I can't believe I want to trade for Eric. And we talked about starting pitching, right?
Yeah.
Like, obviously the Mets aren't going to get like a big name. They're not going to land one of these big type names. They're not going to trade their prospect pool. Mm-hmm. But to get a guy like Eric Fetty from Chicago, that's something that could work. And if we can get a guy that eats innings a la Bartolo Colon, right? I mean, you had all the youngsters coming up, Harvey, DeGrom, Syndergaard, Matz, even Zach Wheeler to a certain extent. Why were those guys so good and last so long? Because you had a guy in the anchor, Bartolo Colon, big sexy, eating innings for the team, doing what he needed to do. So maybe Eric Fetty could be some type of guy like that, where, he's that innings eater and helps out this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I wrote, that was another name that I wrote down, Eric Fetty, as someone that I thought that the Mets, since again, I'm playing the game of, people that are connected to Stearns and how the Mets were connected under Stearns to Fetty as one of the two teams, them and the White Sox. And I think just opportunity is what is the reason why he chose the White Sox, because he knew he was going to get one of those starting 5 spots in the rotation, as opposed to the Mets. It was a little more open-ended, but there's a connection there. I think it makes sense. And if you're trying to protect innings on guys, whether it's Senga, whether it's Scott, taking in another arm as opposed to depending on somebody like Tyler McGill, I think that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I think Fetty, like when I look at this list here, I've been saying this also when it comes to this deadline, and I want Mets fans to hear this. I don't think you're going to be getting like banner names. Like don't think that you're getting, like, when you see, like, I understand the idea because a Garrett Crochet makes sense, and makes sense from a point of, if you're going to take from your farm that you've been trying to build, you can go out and get a lefty starter that has control. Like, you can spend like that. That makes sense. I don't think they're going to do it though. I would say that you're looking at guys like Winker, a little bit older, on a 1-year deal, fits a need right now. Fetty, 2-year deal, okay, would have a year after this. Makes sense for what you need now. I'm not looking at, like, I would love Tanner Scott, but I think that that's going to be one that you really have to pay up for, because I think a lot of teams that are still in this hunt could really use a Tanner Scott. So I think you're going to have to really pay up to get him, which is why I don't think he would be a guy that this team lands. So you're looking at smaller names. I'll throw out a couple right now that are not on this list that Wardy put out, which, by the way, is a great graphic. I wrote down 2 names, and they're both on the same team. And one of them is one that and a lot of Mets fans know. I think it's possible to call up Texas, depending on what they do or what they're, how they feel about, the guys that they have coming back. Are they going to be in the hunt? Are they going to try to compete? Are they going to sell off? Look, 2 older guys, both fit needs for this team when it comes to the pen, both having solid years. David Robertson makes sense to come back if that's the route that they wanted to go. And Kirby Yates is what? I think he's 37 years old. He's pitching. He's having a great year. I think he's on the 1-year deal also. They could, get back a prospect for a guy that's playing above his line based off of his age right now. So going after someone like that, I think Yates also has some closer experience. I think he closed when he was in San Diego, I believe. So having someone like that as a backup as well, when you want to give Diaz a break, I think someone like that makes sense. Again, older in the tooth, fits a need right now. Not going to have to give up the farm. to attain them. So that's kind of where I'm shopping and trying to think where Stearns could be going when it comes to this deadline.
The first name I thought of was David Robertson. I mean, why not? I know he's another year older. I feel like
loved him when he was here. I did. I loved
that's
him.
the thing. The guy knows how to pitch in New York. I want players who can play here.
And Stearns
David Robertson proved that.
Yeah.
He proved that on the Mets and on the Yankees. I mean, how could you say no to that, a trade like that? Kirby Yates, another guy that would be nice to get in here. I'm pretty sure there's some Nationals, right? You got Finnegan there. I don't know if Floro is available as well. Is it Dylan Floro? I don't know if he is available as well.
I'm not sure if he is. I'm not sure about his contract.
Yeah, I got to look into some of these relievers, but you know, great work by Wardy putting that list out there, and some good names that Ibby just put up there as well. But also want to talk about with you. Well, first off, people keep putting it in the chat, so I want to address it. The Mets had claimed left-handed pitcher Alex Young off waivers today from the San Francisco Giants. He's been optioned to AAA Syracuse. Don't really know too much about him. Haven't been able to read anything on him. I assume he's a reliever, a lefty reliever. And in addition to that, they have designated for assignment Tyler J.
See you, Tyler. see you, Tyler.
And that's how the cookie crumbles.
No, but it's, again, this is what I really think that you're going to continue seeing moves like this. It's turning it's like turning over every couch cushion, just, you know, trying to find the remote, trying to find some spare change, whatever you can. Like that's kind of the mode that it's in right now, because like, a lot of teams are still in it. A lot of teams are trying to figure out if they're going to buy or sell, and you know it's very stagnant. Which is why I continue to say that, you know, we're 2 weeks away from this deadline. Not this upcoming Wednesday, the following Wednesday. Like, what happens over these next, you know, 14 games, whatever it is going to really, I'll call it really the next 8 to 10 games for these teams that are still in the hunt. Are they going to buy or sell? Like, that's going to open things up, and then maybe even make things possibly a little bit cheaper to try to attain. But it's going to be very interesting to see how the market develops over the next, you know, 8 to 10 games.
Apparently, he's in his career 16-18 with a 4.40 ERA. He's got 226 strikeouts and 264 innings pitched. They also got Matt Gage down there as well that they got from the Dodgers about a couple weeks ago. So he's another option that could possibly be a part of, you know, a solution to try. I don't know. I don't know what's going to work really in trying to get the proper left-handed reliever. I know people keep bringing up to me Andrew Chafin. I think I'm over the Andrew Chafin because it's never going to happen. It feels like.
Forget about Andrew Chafin. Like, that's, and we joked the other day, like we brought him up again. Somebody brought him up in our chat like 2 weeks ago. We're like, if this guy shows up here, he's going to be so fucking bad. He's going to be terrible. And everyone's going to be like, why the hell did we get Andrew Chafin? Like, meanwhile, we've been crying for him for like the last 3 or 4 years. It's like, just let it go. It's like, Andrew Chafin's not a thing. It's not going to happen. Stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen.
Armand saying Floro is available, so that would be good for the Mets as well. Okay. If you're looking to trade with the Nationals, I don't know if they'd hold us hostage because we're in the NL East along with them. Mets talk with Hayden saying, would you guys be willing to let go of Quintana or Minaya for a couple of bullpen arms? Mets practically have a full-on second rotation. Minaya, no.
No.
I would not trade. Quintana, yes.
Yeah. I would sell high. If somebody came in and says, hey, we want Jose Quintana, I would sell high on it now. I don't want to give up Minaya because I like the stuff more. I like the fact that he is swingman eligible. He can start or he can relieve.
Yep.
And I think his stuff plays well either way. And I think overall, I know Quintana's been hot lately, but I think Minaya overall this season has been strong for this team. And I would, if you're asking me to pick, I would say I would be comfortable giving out Quintana. But I question if people are really going to be calling on him. I think they would call more on Minaya. And if that's the case, I would not move him. No.
Yeah. I don't think it's addition by subtraction here. Right. Because now you're losing those innings that Manaya's been going about 7 innings over the last, 2 or 3 starts.
Yes.
I don't want to lose that if he's ramping up to pitch more innings there. And like you mentioned, him being a possible bullpen arm that can slot into the bullpen, I'm going to hold on to him if I can. Quintana's the one that I would sell high on if I was the New York Mets.
Innings. This team needs innings,
Yeah.
especially from the starters. And Minaya has been providing that in spades, especially over the last handful of starts. Like, he has been protecting the bullpen, which has been, you know, let's be honest, it's been on fire, and like not in a good way, like a bad fire. So like the fact that he's been able to, you know, tame that fire, if you will, has gone a long way for this team, keeping guys, you know, a little bit well rested to perform a little bit better. So shout out to Sean Manaea. I want to keep him around here.
You remember how much we were talking about? Just give us 6 innings, not
That's
7.
it.
Just give us 6 innings.
Just
Now
6.
that we're getting pitchers giving us 7, that's still not enough to get through this bullpen to get the DS, because you throw a Diekman in there, he can't get 1 or 2 outs. You throw Adam Ottavino in there, he's struggling to get 1 or 2 outs. They burnt out Reed Garrett already.
Yeah.
So now you have the multiple inning stuff.
Not to mention that we're begging for our starters to not only go 7 innings, but we're also begging for our starting our lineup to be like, you got to score 8 runs, guys. You got to score 8, and then we're still like, please. Like it's crazy to think that, you know, we're up 8-2 in the 7th, and we still got to sit there tense. Like that's kind of where it is right now.
Rosie K saying the Mets have to perform well over the next 2 weeks. Their schedule is not that easy.
Agreed.
Yeah, totally agree.
You have to.
This next 2 weeks, it's Marlins for 4,
which are always
Yankees for 2,
okay,
and then Braves for 4. That week is the most crucial week for this team, because
it's 10 games. 10 games, 4-2-4. So we just said 4-2-4.
Yeah, 4-2-4. So the Mets really need to have a good showing here. They have to take advantage of the Yankees' struggles. They have to take advantage of the injuries that the Braves are dealing with right now.
Yeah,
I mean, you got
to come out hot. You have to.
I think 6-4 is reasonable.
6-4, 7-3. Really, again, it depends on what's going on with the rest of the teams that are also playing that you're close with. But it's also about trying to do your best to create space or gain ground. So it's like, yeah, I'm pushing for more. I would say 7-3, but I would settle for 6-4. Based off, again, how they're playing. Look, if this team really wants, as Brandon Nimmo says, like, you want to buy, you want the front office to believe in you. It's like, well, then you got to go. Like, I know the Marlins have been a pain in the ass for this team, like, forever. But if you want to be a buyer and you want to be taken serious, you got to beat the Marlins. Like, you have to. Like, and it's easy for me to sit here and say, oh, you know, you got to win all 4. It's like, you got to win 3. You got to. Like, you should win all 4, but you got to win 3. You got to beat up the Yanks. Like, don't, you know, you go into their house, like, you go into their bandbox, like, you got to win games. You have to. You know, it's like, and then you got the Braves, who are not the Braves this year. Like, they're struggling offensively. The pitching's been banged up, but, you know, you got to go in and handle business. You got to get at least a split there. So it's like, there are, 6-4, 7-3. Like, I have to get that over the next 10. I have to.
Absolutely. And if you get to that Braves series within 2 or 3 games of that top wild card spot, which the Braves hold, I'm telling Met fans right now, you got to be at the ballpark for that series.
Yes.
You have to be at the ballpark for that series, cheering these guys on. We have to get them through this, to get through the trade deadline, and make them buyers. We want to make it to the playoffs this year. I don't want to be out of another year of not going to the playoffs. I want to be in the playoffs this year by any means necessary. We got to do what we got to do here. So, you know, taking 3 out of 4 from the Marlins is honestly not really asking a lot.
I don't think it is either, especially for where you aspire and want to be. Like, you should. And look, the game's not played on paper. And of course, like, shout out to Carson, who's in the chat right now saying how, like, you know, the big star power teams don't scare me. It's the scrappy mosquito style teams that, you know, are much more relaxed, and they come in there and they're just a pain in the ass. It's like, even with all that said, like, on paper, and again, not played on paper, but still on paper, the Mets are a much, much better team than Miami. Much better team. Like, you should beat the shit out of them. Like, you should. Like, so yeah, us sitting here saying, like, we want at least 3. I don't think it's asking for a lot. I really don't.
No, I think 3 from the Marlins, 1 from the Yankees. But if you could sweep the Yankees at where they're at right now and kind of bury them, it's twofold there. And I know they're in a different division, but
Yeah,
I
but
always
still.
feel like, and you tell me if you felt this way too, I feel like the Subway Series has always been that sort of turning point in the season for either team.
Mm-hmm.
Like once we get to that last portion of the Subway Series, whichever team like was winning kind of took off from there, and that had a big run. So look, take care of business against the Yankees. They're struggling right now. They have no offense. You should be able to beat them. You should be able to pound on them in Yankee Stadium.
I agree. And I think when it comes to those things too, it's always a confidence booster, because when things like this happen between Mets and Yanks, it carries more within media and things are said or whatever. It's like, you want to add more, you want to add a little bit more to your own ego, to your own confidence or whatever. Yeah, go into their house and beat them. Like, simple. Like, and the way that they're playing, unless they wake up in the handful of games they had before the Mets play them, like, yeah, they're down. You got to put you got to put the foot on the throat. Like, you have to be able to beat them, go into their house and win. Like, that's it. You want to be taken serious, you got to beat them.
3 from the Marlins, 1 from the Yankees, and a split with the Braves puts us at 6-4. So if they can figure out a way to get to 6-4, great. 7-3, even better.
Yeah.
But if they can go on some type of run here, that would be fantastic. Absolutely. Shout out to Go ahead.
I was going to say, the one thing I see Rosie's comment right here saying how Nestor's tweet about everybody wanting to be them should motivate the Mets. Like, I saw that tweet today. I was like, this is such a and again, I don't care about the Yankees. I don't watch the Yankees. I don't rag on them. I don't get into what people on Yankees Twitter or anything like that, because I care about the Mets. Like, that's all I care about. But I saw that tweet. I was just like, people want to be us and this and that. It's a privilege. I was like, dude, you sound like such a loser. Just stop. Like, it's like, because it's not even needed. Like, no one said anything. Like, but you wanted to put it out there. It's just like, it's not needed, man. Like, just don't tweet. Like, sometimes, I always say this to my students as well. Like, when we talk about social media and stuff, it's like, a lot of you have opinions, a lot of you have thoughts. You don't always have to post about it. It's okay. You can keep it to yourself. You don't got to put it out there.
Maybe he's trying to motivate the Yankees. I don't know. They need some motivation after the way the first half ended for them. Shout out 105 people in this room right now.
Love it.
Shout out to everybody here.
Like and sub.
Yeah, like both the Subway to Shea and Till Mets Do Us Part. Subscribe. Follow us on all the social media platforms. Yeah, pointing right at there. There you go. At Poison Ibby. At Poison_Ibby. Let me say that correctly there. Shout out Maureen, just joined the show. Appreciate you being in here. Appreciate Corey Holzer also being in here. Everyone, if I missed you, please forgive me. It's hard to read every single comment on here. And also,
great people in the chat. Great people.
Yeah, always great people in the chat here. So this is what I wanted to come to talking about here. Boom. Pete Alonso, stay or going? Because I know he talked about it during his press conference that he wanted to stay in Queens. He loves being in Queens. I know I want him to stay in Queens. I think you kind of feel the same way. But like we said, if they move on, it is what it is.
People in the chat, make sure you put down, because I see Corey Holzer's put it in there as well. If you want stay or go, just put it over there so we can see it, stay or go, when it comes to Pete. And I'll say this. I had been a big proponent of keeping Pete. I thought he would be playing better at this point. And look, there's still a second half to go. He could turn it on and things could change when it comes to this. I think he's going to regret not taking that extension. I think I wish I can credit the person in the chat who said it, but when you sign Scott Boras as your agent, it shows what you want. And I understand thinking that you're worth a certain amount. But when you hire Boras doesn't care about allegiances. Boras is going to get you the most money. And look, I don't care about Boras anymore because we have Steve Cohen, because look, Brandon Nimmo, like everyone who talks about like Pete and Boras, it's like, we have Brandon Nimmo, guys, and Nimmo is a Boras client, and We paid up. We got the guy, and he's going to be a Met for life. So for me, I think Pete's going to regret not taking that money. The question that I come back to is he turned down the contract of $150+ million over 7 years. He said no with Boris as his agent at the time. Would he have the balls to take less on a 5-year deal as opposed to the 7 that he was offered? So if they offered him 5 years and they said, here's $110 million, is he going to say yes to that? Or is he going to go more so of the, the Bellinger route where it's like a 3-year deal, opt out. I want to make $30 million this 1 year. Then I can see what I want to do from there. 3 years, 90 million or whatever with opt outs. Like, is he going to go that route? For me, I think it makes sense for him to stay, but I think it's really going to be dependent on how strong he's going to fight on the overall, I'll say years, on the overall years. I think the Mets will go 5 years. I think that's where the hang up is. I think he would want 7 or 8 because I think he's going to say, I'm of the Nimmo class. I want to be here that long. That's what I deserve. That's what I think I provide for this team. First basemen don't age well, but I think that 5 years makes a lot of sense. I think that's where I think that's where the fighting's going to come down to. Because I don't think they have a problem giving him 25, 26, $27 million a year. I don't think they do. I don't think they want to go, paying him until he's 37, 38, 39 years old. I think they would pay him for years 30 to 35. I think that's kind of where it is right now. We'll see if the second half changes that based off of his output. I want Pete to be here. I would love Pete to hit 500 home runs as a Met. And I think that when you build this team properly and you allow Pete to just be what he is, which is a power hitter, it goes a lot further for him in terms of his overall value, where you're not depending on him to be this, he's only batting 230. Well, yeah, power hitters hit 230 and they have ebbs and flows, extreme ebbs and flows, because their job is to hit home runs. If you allow him to just be that, you'll be happy. You won't care. Add more talent. I want him to be here. If he goes, it would suck. It'd be like similar to Jake. It's like, thought he was going to be here, 500 home runs, whatever. Like, would have liked it. I want him to stay. Wouldn't be shocked if he goes. But if you're asking me to pick one for myself, I would say stay.
Yeah, everyone so far in the chat is saying stay when it comes to Pete Alonso. I like what Corey Holzer had to say here. I don't want him to look back on his career and have the same regrets as Straw had. Yeah, Strawberry always talks about him regretting not signing with the Mets and going with the Dodgers. And then you hear him during the number retirement ceremony. I mean, he brought so many people to tears just talking about it and apologizing for it during his speech. He really did regret that. I feel like Pete could have similar regrets if something like that happens. But, you talk about, and I'm glad that Mets Talk with Hayden brought this up. He says, in my opinion, Boris has ruined a lot of his clients. Look at Snell and Jordan Montgomery. Look, when it comes to Scott Boras, I think that baseball has finally figured him out. And baseball, it goes in a different, owners. It's going in a different analytical direction where you're finding cheaper options and better options than, signing a guy like Snell and Jordan Montgomery, who I think are both, definitely Snell's on the IL. But Jordan Montgomery,
Snell just came back. Monty
just came back?
was on the IL. Monty's on the IL. Snell
so
just
they swapped.
Yeah,
I know Snell. Okay.
Yeah.
And look at how much money that they were getting. They wanted more. They wanted way more money, and they held out. And Scott Boras it's not working for Scott Boras if he's going to play that game. And when you look at Pete Alonso, obviously Scott Boras is the number one hype man for his players. But come on, saying that Pete deserves Aaron Judge money.
Not happening.
I mean, I know that they are similar in home runs, but Aaron Judge, he's an elite outfielder. He hits for average. I mean, it's a different person. And he got his money based on also hitting 63 home runs last that season that he became a free agent. Yeah. He was going to get more money from the Padres and from the Giants.
Yeah.
And decided to stay with the Yankees.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's Yeah, I think that baseball in general, like the bringing up like Snell and Monty, like I think pitching is a much more difficult market now because I don't think anyone, even the aces, I don't think you're going to see any more when it like I think Garrett Cole was like the last of that dying breed in terms of that type of contract. You're not going to see that. I think when you equate someone like Pete, looking at the market that just passed, like a Bellinger, where he had the shoulder issue, and people were curious if he was going to get paid, and he ends up settling for what he did, not close to what he thought he was going to get. Wanted 175, ends up getting, like I said, 3 years for 60 or whatever it was, maybe 70 with opt outs. Like first base is not a position that is valued. It's not, and I love Pete. But like I said, like at this point, he needs Steve Cohen to just want to pay up to have the legacy, essentially. Because without said legacy that he has as a Met, do you really like, and I know that there are teams that are starved for offense, but do I really think that the Giants are going to pay him $200 million? I don't. Do I think that Houston or the Cubs, which everyone always goes to, are going to pay this guy $200+ million to go play there for 6-7 years? I don't, because he doesn't have the defensive profile of Freeman or Olsen. I don't think that anyone's going to give him that number. And if he chooses to go that route, thinking he's going to get it, you're going to be similar to Bellinger and the other Boris Clydes that have fell short over the last couple of years. Muted again, Ant. Twice.
Well, here's the problem now. Here's the problem now with the muting. So there is a storm a brewing outside of this house, and the thunder is super loud. So I'm trying to get that out. Hopefully, I don't lose any power.
Pros pro.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a pros pro here, but yeah, man. Armand saying I'm torn on Pete because he does not play a premium position, and he is going into his 30s, and I believe the Mets have their first baseman of the future in Ryan Clifford. One thing I want to say about that is I don't want to count on minor leaguers like that. I can't. I mean, Lastings Millage.
It's not fair either.
No, Lastings Millage, Fernando Martinez, Alex Ochoa, the Generation K. I mean, even the 4 starters, Harvey. Like, there's been just so much with the minor leagers. Like,
I thought Lastings Millage, man, was gonna be the next big thing. I'm still like, when I hear the name, it breaks my heart. And I was all about him like slapping hands with the fans. Like, I know people gave him shit back then, but I love that.
What breaks my heart about Lastings Millage? You know what breaks my heart?
What?
The proposed trade of Lastings Millage and Mike Pelfrey and maybe Philip Umber for Manny Ramirez in 2006. That breaks my heart. Because we needed that bat.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Carson saying if Boris is asking for Judge money for Alonso, I challenge him to get that from somewhere else. Go ahead. High roller. Have fun. Let me go to Frank About Sports because that's the Mets weekly crew. Their Judge OPS is 4 points higher and plays center field. Pete is not getting anywhere near that.
Nice tie, Frank. Again, he's not getting anywhere close to that money. He's really again, I shout out because I love the stuff that he puts out there when it comes to breaking things down. Good Fundies Brian. Like I said earlier in the show, he broke down based off of Baseball Reference, similar first baseman and the type of contract that he might be able to fetch. And on the high end, the super, super high end, if you think he's going to hold steady over the next 5-6 years, would be like 170 million. But I don't think he's going to get that money because I don't think anyone thinks that it's going to hold up to that sense. And then when you went on the lower end, it was 4 years, maybe $90 million. That's a stark difference. It really is. And the comps that were there, they weren't bad comps, when they were talking about the likes of, Richie Sexson and looking at other guys that had similar profiles and how they petered off as they got older. It's I can see it. I can understand the argument, but I want him to be here. I would love for him to be here, and I would love for him to be surrounded by a much better lineup. So, like I said, he can just be what he is, and people stop wanting him to be what he's not.
Yeah. Let me throw this comparison. Contract only. Not the same type of player, same position, but not the same type of player. So don't get me on this. But when Albert Pujols left St. Louis at age
31,
30, yes,
31,
left at age 31 to go to Anaheim, who gave him the big contract. I feel like that's kind of similar. Like, is that the regret that the Mets could be on if they sign him for, and then Pujols was there for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They gave Anaheim is nuts. They gave him over 10 years. But I'm saying, like, his downfall came after he left the Cardinals. I think that was like they won the World Series and then he was out, went to Anaheim, and he wasn't the same player. He wasn't the Albert Pujols that played in St. Louis.
No.
So that's my concern with, dishing out, like, obviously the years for Pete, but also the money. I think what also hurts Pete as well is that there's another guy that's a free agent that's a whole lot younger, that's going to be available, if the Yankees don't re-sign him. But I'm pretty sure that Steve Cohen is going to dole out all that money as much as possible for a guy like Juan Soto.
I agree wholeheartedly. And, I know people gave me shit in the comments when John asked me that question, at the beginning of the season. It's like, hey man, you got to choose. You can only have one. And I did not hesitate at all. And I was like, guys, I love you, but Juan Soto is 10 times the player that Pete Alonso is. And even if he ends up becoming a DH, he's a better DH than Pete. He's 26 years old. It's not even close. Like, it's really not. And I love Pete, but it's not even close. And I've said for the longest time that I love Juan Soto. He's like one of my, if not my favorite players. And he's a guy that would build a franchise around. So if the opportunity is there, I choose him 10 times out of 10.
Well, Stephanie says you're not getting him 10 times out of 10 because she thinks he's staying with the New York Yankees.
And Steph, I love you. I do. The only thing I say to that, and I always say this, and I've been consistent with it, the Yankees 1,000% should retain Juan Soto. Shouldn't be a question. You are worth $7, $8, $9 billion as a franchise. You should keep Juan Soto for the rest of his career. I will believe it when it happens, because I still have a hard time that Hal Steinbrenner is going to have a potential $500+ million contract on top of a $300+ million contract of Judge, on top of a $300 million contract that Cole is going to opt into because he's not getting the money elsewhere. He's going to stay with that contract that he got, on top of Stanton's contract still, on top of Rodon's contract. George Steinbrenner, I believe it. Hal Steinbrenner, I will wait and I will believe it when I see it. Until then, I can think that my team has a potential shot. Sure.
I don't want to throw water onto Armand's comment about Ryan Clifford, because it could be possible that at some point he does come up, but I feel like that's still a couple years away. I feel like Stevie Mac's comment is more of a possibility in the now, like, relevant to this year, next year, with Vientos, possibly being a guy who plays first. And I don't know, he didn't look too great the other day when he played first base, and Pete DH. Actually looks, I think he looks pretty decent at third base, if you ask me. I mean, he's improved very much, but obviously we're going to see the return of Mauricio, although I would have Mauricio at second because I like his defense better at second. Put, obviously Lindor at shortstop, Vientos at third, and I think he got something going there. So we'll see what happens, but Vientos, that's a possibility.
Definitely a possibility. I know John's been not anti that, but just like he doesn't like the argument of just assuming that if you plug someone in, like, they're going to be great moving forward. And I understand the argument, but to the conversation that we're having right now, yes, I would agree that Vientos sliding over to first is something that is a little more palatable as opposed to assuming Ryan Clifford. And look, Ryan Clifford, I usually do an On the Farm segment for the show. Ryan Clifford has been awesome for this past month when it comes to Double-A. Crushing the ball, his average is up. I think walks and strikeouts are similar. Like, he's showing legit promise. And when the Mets got him, they said that he might have been the steal of the entire deadline. That's how high a lot of people were on him as a ball player. And yeah, I'm happy to see him further develop, but I'm with you. I'm not banking on anything until it actually happens and we can see him, take some live swings with the big club before we assume he's gonna thrive when he's here.
Before we wrap up this show and continuing on to the last topic, which, you mentioned Ryan Clifford, I want to talk about Mets minor leaguers who could possibly be called up
Mm-hmm.
this season. Obviously, you talk about Starling Marte. Could we possibly see Drew Gilbert?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the pitchers who was in the Futures game,
Mm-hmm.
they talked to him. They talked to Brandon Sproat about possibly coming up here to relieve. And I've been asking for years for the Mets to take their top prospect starting pitchers, throw them in the bullpen up here. Why not? Why not see if it works?
Is it because you have nightmares of Adam Wainwright?
I do.
No,
he
but I'm
still
with you.
haunts us all to this day.
I'm with you. I would say that when it comes to potential guys being called, I mentioned it earlier. I think, not counting Beatty because he's been here before, I think he has the most potential to be called back up to replace, say, a DJ Stewart as a lefty off the bench. But going elsewhere, like looking at the pure prospects that haven't been here just yet, I would say that I think Acuna has the best shot. I know someone mentioned before, the idea, I think it was Armand, mentioning how he would rather Taylor be on the bench and the outfield work, but he wanted Acuna and right. Acuna's been playing center down low at AAA, but when he's not playing second. But I think that it would be him at second and McNeil playing in the outfield in that scenario. But I think Acuna has the best shot. If Gilbert didn't get hurt, I would say he has a shot, but because he got hurt and missed so much time, I don't think we're going to see him this year, which is unfortunate because I wanted to see him, but yeah. I don't think we're going to see him this year. And in terms of Sproat, I would say there's a small percentage, but I think with how baseball is now, I don't think that the kid gloves are going to come off, even though it's safer to put somebody in the pen. I think we're going to see Sproat sometime next year, and he'll be treated similar to how we've seen Christian Scott treated this year. But at the same time, would it be cool to see from the pitching perspective, a flamethrower like Sproat coming up if this team is making a potential run and act similar to what, Michael Conforto provided in 15 from a batting perspective, like just being someone that's fresh, comes in, flamethrower, throws hard, can provide something in this pen an inning at a time. Would it be cool? Sure. Do I think they're going to do it? I just don't. I think if there's one guy, I would say it's Acuna, and I would say it's even slim at that. Like I'd put Acuna at maybe 25-30%.
I think we will start to see once the trade deadline is over, say Jesse Winker is too expensive or some other outfielder they may be looking into. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be opposed to Acuna coming up and playing second to move McNeil to the outfield. He's not that bad of an outfielder. Better than DJ Stewart. I'll say that. Yeah. But I mean, I'm just trying to think of, that outside the box, what this team can do without giving up so much. So same thing applies to, these relievers. If they can't get a trade, throw Tyler McGill in the bullpen where he belongs, Carson. It's true. Also,
that's right. Call him out, Ant. Carson. He's a bum. You know he's a bum. He stinks. Peterson is Carson. 10 times better. We do.
I love Carson. Nothing but love. Nothing but love for my guy Carson. Also, Brandon Sproat. Like I would look. Even Duran Rivera says it. Brandon Sproat as a reliever, like Stearns did with Corbin Burns.
It's definitely possible. It is. I'll believe it when it happens. Look. I'm not gonna boo if it happens. I'm just trying to think from the perspective. Even when Stearns did that, like baseball has changed over even the small amount of years since that's happened, about how they handle pitchers and how delicate they are about it. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Corey Holzer has the same thought process when it comes to the whole thing with Sproat and how Burns came up as well on his terms. I'll go Rad Dad, and we'll wrap up with this question, saying, what will it take to get Mason Miller? That's from Oakland. He's the closer from Oakland. I think he still has years under contract with, he's still right. He's not going to be free agent next year.
Oh no, he's far from being
Okay. He
yeah,
is
he's
going to
far from
cost.
he's under contract for like with arbitration, he could be under contract for like the next 5 years.
Yeah, he's going to cost way more than a guy like Tanner Scott would. I mean,
Yes. If you
you're
want
giving up prospects for this guy.
if you want me like I'll say this, and I know people think about certain players and think, oh, the Mets can just add like again, you think because the farm has gotten better that you are of the ilk of better teams. Like if Oakland, if Oakland calls up Baltimore and Baltimore says, "Hey, we don't trust Kimbrel, we want Mason Miller." Like Baltimore, if they wanted him, yeah, they could get him. Like Baltimore can basically get anyone they want if they truly want to get them. But if you want Mason Miller, the Mets do not have the package that can land him because there are a lot other teams, if he's truly available, that can go out and get him. Like I've been saying that if the Phils want him, the Phils can get him because I think that the Phils have a farm system that matches well with what Oakland might want in return. And I think because you have Dave Dombrowski there, I think he is always the all-in type. He knows what he has there. He kept the same crew, and other players have stepped up and have become even better. Alec Boehm's gotten better. Christopher Sanchez has become better. Like, if they want to solidify that bullpen, like they could easily go out and package, Aiden Miller and Curtis Painter if they want. I'm sorry, not Curtis Painter. That was the quarterback for the Colts. Andrew Painter from there. So it's like they have high-end guys that are much more acclaimed and in the want, if you will, as opposed to what the Mets have. So I think it'd be very hard for the Mets to even be in the discussion, really in the room, if you will, not even in the ballpark when it comes to a Mason Miller type.
I know that Carson says Miller isn't getting moved per Heyman, but I would go for the other guy. I think the other guy, I asked him to put it in the chat, but he hasn't done it yet. I think the other guy he's talking about, and I think also Shea and Sons talked about
I don't know how to say his name. ERCEG?
Yeah, Lucas Ursich.
Is it Ursich?
He's 2-2 right now with a 2.94 ERA. I think he's a left-handed pitcher as well. Man, outside of the Mets, no, he's a right-handed pitcher. Okay.
He's a righty, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Anyone with a sub-3 ERA that's in the bullpen, I'm all for.
And poor Mason Miller, because if he's really not getting moved, like, poor guy, like, get him anywhere else so people can actually enjoy him and watch him, because he's fantastic. Obviously, I don't want him going to the Phils, but just get him the hell out of Oakland. Like, people should enjoy and watch this guy because he's special on the mound.
There it is. Lucas Ursich is the name that we are looking about. Ebby, man, this has been a fun hour. Oh, you hear that?
I did hear that.
You heard that?
I did hear that. That's why the mute was handling. That's why Answer Pro. Yeah. He was handling it. Now now the whole show's been ruined because he forgot to mute. Wait to ruin the show.
The heavens have opened up, and that means it's time to start wrapping up the show here. Ibby, this has been a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you doing this with me for almost 2 hours. We've been talking about, man. Like, we can go on, and at some point we'll do the 24-hour marathon. I know you're very interested in doing something like that.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But
absolutely, yeah.
Obviously, let everyone know, all the stuff, where to follow you, and Till Mets do his part. I know everyone on the chat knows, but just in case we have a new watcher, new listener.
Hey, how many people we got here right now? How many people are in here?
I have 121 here on my end.
Okay, we got 121 people watching us across, my social as well as both of our YouTube channels. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Till Mets do his part. Make sure you subscribe to the channel of Subway to Shea. Make sure you like the video. Okay, if there's 100+ people in here, I'm sure a lot of you are on the X side, but if you're not, you're on the YouTube side, you're having fun with us in the chat. Make sure you sub both of our channels if you haven't already. You can follow me at poison_Ibby. I try to keep it nice and simple now when it comes to X, since I don't like people. I mean, there are plenty of people that I do like within the community, but I try to avoid getting into the muck because a lot of it is just annoying and it's energy that I don't want. But there are a lot of
is your friend, Ibby. It's my friend.
It really is. And
I need to teach John
a lot more. Yes, we have to. If you really want to have some fun on X. Again, just wait for John, my partner and co-host. You can follow him at John Saponaro on all of his handles. If you want to have some fun when it comes to X and the things that he gets mixed up in, he might even comment at you and start up an entire brawl. I know he's had some interesting back and forths with some people in this chat. So if you want to follow him, you can do so at his, but you can follow me at poison_Ibby. I'm active there the most. Obviously the show handle at Till Metsu is Part. Follow us on YouTube. We're trying to grow there the most. We're closing on 800 subs if you haven't already. Again, Instagram, same thing at Till Metsu is Part. TikTok, all the places. We have a group on Facebook as well at Till Metsu is Part. It's a private group, but still you can subscribe to it and try to join it, and I'll let you in. So just trying to keep the conversations clean and positive for the most part that we can. But yeah, always fun, Ant. I always appreciate doing shows with you. We always have great conversations. It's always a good time. So thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Ant, you're muted for the third time.
That's just the way to end it, right? It's the absolute way to end this show, being on mute. I got thunder right on my ear. I got the air conditioner blasting because this office is hot. But this is always a fun time. There's always something that happens when we're together doing a show. Always something fun. But with my stuff, I have my little banner at the bottom. So follow Subway to Shea on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Subway to Shea. You can follow me at Ant Rivera 86 and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. My quest for 500 subscribers on YouTube continues. I'm close to 450. So help me out. Subscribe, like, and do the same thing for Till Metsu is Part. Great friends. Where is John right now?
John right now is in Amsterdam. He's having a wonderful time over there, it seems like. Stevie back always with a good comment. John is in Amsterdam right now. I know he's taking a little bit of break from X because it's a little bit too, the water's a little bit too hot for him at the moment. So he's taking a break from X, but he's been posting a lot on his stories on Instagram. But it seems like he's having a nice time over in Amsterdam. I try not to bother him too much because, he should go there to enjoy his time. I'm pretty sure he just got another tattoo as well. Every time he goes to these places, he always gets another tattoo. So it's pretty cool. But if you want to check out his stuff, he's over on Instagram at John Saponaro as well.
And shout out for that episode he did in England.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
You guys got, what was it, top #1 in Great Britain, the top charts there, my friend.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like, I have no idea how the charts work when it comes to, we get emails from Chartable and things that happen on Apple for the most part. So yeah, we peaked at the #1 spot in Great Britain over the likes of someone like Talking Baseball or John Boy. It's wild. I have no idea how it happened, why it happened. But I appreciate it. And even though it's a fleeting moment, it's one that I can forever screenshot and have. We peaked one time at like 24 in the US. So we're clearly a lot more beloved across the pond, which is fine by me. Eventually maybe more people will listen to us when it comes to the States, but either way, an awesome moment, and I appreciate you shouting out right there. Thank you so much.
Yeah, as long as we continue to see that graphic of him as Austin Powers, you should put that. You should put that anywhere he goes. Like, where in the world is John Saponaro? And then you have that little picture of him jumping up like
Austin Powers. You know what? Now that you said that, every time I do a show now, I'll make a graphic. I will, just for you. I will make a graphic every time I'm solo, wherever he is. I will do that, and I will make sure I run it.
Where in the world is John Saponaro?
So better yet, I'll make him Carmen Sandiego. Perfect. I'll do that, and we will find out where he is. You know what? I'll turn it into a segment because it's an easy way to kill a couple of minutes on a solo show. So thank you for the idea. It always sparks me when it comes to ideas. He always gives me something, and I can run with it.
We're there, man.
I'm definitely there. We're there. You say one thing, and I'm ready to go, and I'll have it to you. I'll make something within the next couple of days, and I'll send it to you.
Shout out to John. Shout out to you, my friend Ibby, and shout out to everyone in the chat. Appreciate you being with us here tonight on this what is Wednesday evening. We are just a couple of days away from the start of the second half of this season. A big half to start for the New York Mets, and hopefully it ends with us in the postseason once again. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Shout out Subway to Shea. Shout out Till Metsu is Part. And always remember, let's go Mets.